Hey everyone, Matt Kaplan here with another excerpt for you to try out. For anyone that's new, this is a series that I have started where I'm going to be bringing sections, passages of music for you to try out, where you might learn some things about interpretation, technique, even a little music theory along the way. Primarily, I'll be using resources from the chamber music repertoire. I find myself really lucky here in New York City to play with many, many musicians, from pianists to cellists to other guitarists as well. You know, there's lots of guitar duets and trios out there. So I'll definitely bring some of that music for you to try that maybe you're not checking out regularly, as guitar is pretty much a solo instrument. I'll also bring some solo repertoire along the way, but I always find there's just so much to learn in even just one section of music. So today's excerpt is from Jaime Zenamon's Reflexos No.6 for guitar and cello, or Reflections No.6. I feel very lucky to have worked on this piece with Jaime, and I've played this many, many years with my duo partner, Mark Humberg. We've, just absolutely love this piece, and if you are in a guitar and cello duo, or you have a friend that plays cello, this piece is certainly one that will be on your program. So definitely check it out. There's a lot of amazing recordings of this piece. It's very popular, and for good reason. It's an absolutely beautiful piece in 3 movements. This excerpt comes from the second movement called Doloroso, which Jaime told me is really about his sadness, kind of witnessing Spanish bullfights for the first time. The first movement is kind of evocative of the Patagonia landscape. You know, there's kind of like a nice water scene, and this one is about that sadness, and the third movement is a fun party in the Patagonia mountains. So this movement is one that features the tremolo technique, and what I really like about this excerpt that I have is that the tremolo is only just a small part of what makes up this piece. Usually with tremolo pieces, it's the whole piece. You think of repertoire like Recuerdos or Sueño en la Floresta, where it's pretty much a dominant aspect of the piece. But every once in a while, you'll find pieces where, tremolo just appears for a second. So it's really just a way the composer is, texturing the piece with something, in this case, very fleeting but very beautiful. On the other hand, if you're feeling like, my tremolo technique is not so up to par, that might be a reason for you not to play the piece, which it shouldn't. So I wanted to bring this one so you could have a really nice tremolo exercise to practice. I actually think this sounds quite beautiful on its own without the cellist. No offense, Mark, but I do like I do like it together. But as a solo exercise for you to play through, it also sounds quite beautiful. So I have the music up here. You can see we are in 5/8 and working with eighth notes in 30 seconds, as is pretty typical with tremolo. Just a quick note on the technique of this. One of the reasons, aside it being a very fleeting moment in the piece, there's no other tremolo in the piece. This particular tremolo excerpt also only deals with tremolo, or needing to navigate the tremolo, on the first 3 treble strings. So the whole time, if you watch that opening of me playing the piece, you'll notice the thumb actually doesn't navigate down to the 4th, 5th, or 6th strings to do the basses. The melody is mostly just on those treble. Actually, it is completely on those treble strings. So this is great because if you are new to tremolo, maybe you haven't done so much of it. I know, kind of up here in the advanced positions, if you haven't tried that yet, that could be a little complex. However, if you have some good chops reading up here and you're ready to start tremolo, this is a great exercise to try, because when you work with tremolo, and you're looking down here at the thumb on the 2nd and 3rd strings, well, sometimes the thumb, when you work with tremolo, which typically arpeggiates the basses and chords and such while the melody is sustained on top, that movement of the thumb can be something that throws off the hand and off the evenness of your tremolo. So here, when you only have to navigate between 2 strings, it makes it much more easy to control the fluidity of the singing line up top. So, one of the things that you might even do just as you go, let's say looking at the first 2 beats here, just to kind of get the flow of what you're playing, you might very lightly, very softly, just kind of bounce that thumb back and forth between strings 2 and 3 with the first C sharps going here. So we have... You might do it a little faster. Just to kind of get the flow, because that's pretty much what's going to be happen, aside any instance where the thumb has to play the same string again. So this is, I think, something really helpful. Something else you could do here might even be playing or sustaining the tremolo. Like, for instance, on this first, I'm just going to do open strings for now, but let's say on the first string. Notice I'm just going with AMI here, but with my thumb, I might change the position while I'm maintaining the tremolo. Kind of feels weird to position your thumb on a string without touching it, but it's great practice and also provides some good discipline for that thumb when you are working to prepare notes in advance here. One of the things about tremolo, too, is that the technique itself is, to give us the sensation of sustain that we don't have. As we know, as soon as you pluck a note, it dies pretty quickly. We don't have a bow or breath or anything like that to sustain the pitch. So the tremolo, that really kind of very quick, but, I'm not very super articulate. I don't want it to be heavy. Kind of ruins the effect, but this gives us the illusion of sustain, and typically in most tremolo pieces the melody appears up top. But I love this excerpt too because it almost seems like you get 2 melodies in once. Like it's, you have this thing up top. I'm just going to play single notes here for the C sharps. Right, so you kind of have this really nice falling line, but with the thumb, we have two different ideas kind of moving together at the same time, but this tremolo doesn't act in the way it normally does, where you have, long sustained bass notes sustaining, the overall harmony. So this is also a bit more exposed, as you work through this in your practice, right? You really want to get the clarity on both ends of this, both with the thumb and with the sustaining line. In working through this, you might notice in the beginning we're in 5/8. We're working with a 5/8 time signature, which can also be a little bit odd if this is the first time you're ever working with a odd time signature. One of the things that helps me with this piece in particular and with others, working with 5/8, 7/8, anything in between, is to treat it like a compound meter. And what I mean by that is we're not really thinking of it as I'm playing with like a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That can sound very weighted, very beady, maybe not as much flow here with that 5 since it's kind of an odd, an odd meter to feel when we're used to so much music being in our traditional simple meters like 4/4, 2/4, 3/4, and also simple compounds like 6/8 and 9/8. But with this 5/8, the way I feel it, if you were working through this, especially with the thumb alone or something, is I feel a group of 3 plus a group of 2. So I'm really thinking 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. This is just a choice that I made, and I'm principally following the melody here. You can see the first 3 beats, the first 3 eighth notes that we have are accompanied by that C sharp up top, followed by 2 other notes which have the B up top. So I can kind of see those very clearly in the music. Sometimes that's not always the case, and also there might be a good argument for feeling this in the opposite, like 2 plus 3. So instead of 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. what happens if you do it the opposite way? That might be 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, right? So that kind of a feel might yield some different results. So as you play through this, experiment. You might find different passages or different parts within a phrase that lend itself to one over the other. For example, the bass line, I have the cello here written in just to kind of help with what you're hearing if you're looking through the music. This one, he's playing pits, but it sounds like this. This is an even stranger line in my opinion. I don't really think it helps in making any decision on whether, for me as a guitarist playing this melody, if I'm going to do a 3+2 or a 2+3. To me, this cello line almost sounds like the phrase extends over 2 bars and not just one. I really hear this line as a 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Kind of feel as a group of 4, then 2 groups of 3, giving you the full 10. So listen to that one more time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. Kind of maybe Zenamon was listening to some Pink Floyd. Kind of sounds like the. All right, well, that's a different video. Anyways, so, as you go through that 5/8, practice counting with the 3s, practice counting with the 2s. It's a lot of fun, especially as you're exploring this music for the first time. The other thing about this piece that is really useful in your practice is working left-hand legato. So as I mentioned, you're kind of working with 2 melodies at the same time. So in order for that to really stand out, we have to work the legato as much as possible. So you'll notice in the score that I have with some fingerings on there, I use some open strings here and there, like measure 2, measure 3, to help me shift while maintaining the legato. For instance, in measure 2, I have there's that open string I just used. Now, why use that open string there? Why not do... Oops, sorry. Well, probably for that reason, because I haven't practiced it. But other than that, you have this, even though it's just 1 fret, I have to lift here. I have a kind of a little bit of a shift within that phrase. It's nuanced. I mean, in that case, you could probably practice that and have it be super connected, but the open string, it's just there for you to use. So as long as you can blend that melody really well and make that open string sound just as full as the fretted notes on the third and 2nd strings, it could sound really, really nice. Here I use it as well. I can hit that open string and get my 2nd finger to that G in order to not have that break from needing to do a shift on both of the strings. So here at measure 3, one more time, I have open string here. And I almost shift as soon as I pluck that open string, so that you're always hearing something and I can hold on to that A as long as possible. Watch one more time. So, whenever you have that in the realm of possibilities for you to use, open strings are definitely an asset. I don't think in this music, in the original score, there are any fingerings, so I kind of went through this trial and error. I'm sure there are many, many more options, even with starting, the opening, for example, but, you could do it here, for instance, if you wanted to, but, the way I have it set up, I just find has a really nice flow to it. So the next thing we'll talk about related to legato is going to be measure 4 here. And this basically, if you've ever gone through the pumping nylon exercises in Scott Tennant's book with the 2 chromatic lines rising or I guess falling at 2 different times here, this... that effect is really only achieved by waiting for the last possible moment for any finger to move while keeping your preparations fully ready. And this happens here in measure 4 between the tremolo and the thumb notes that you're playing. So I'm just going to play these in 16th so we can see it here. What's going on? I'm going to go... So that's just a 16th note kind of rundown of that. But it allows me to really focus on the left hand sustaining of these notes here. Because you'll notice what happens is I play the C sharp, I guess the octave C sharp. So C sharp, C sharp, second finger, F sharp. Now here's where it gets fun. I add in the G here with the third finger. But as I do that, this middle finger here has to prepare the B so that when I'm ready for it, I can lift the pinky up. And then right after that, this first finger has to prepare on the 7th fret F sharp note on the 2nd string for the melody note. So a lot of things going on there that can interrupt the melody. I'll do it once real slow. And in context. So you get a really, really nice line with working on that legato. Otherwise, it just sounds a little disjunct without it. Finally, you'll notice at the end, this is just a subtle detail, but at the very end, we have an instance of Molto Rallentando. So just something that, you can practice. I mean, this isn't just a tremolo thing that you can work through, but something that's important for any piece with expressive elements here, working through and treating that rallentando as something that you can practice and work on is always useful. So even just if you're doing open strings with something like that, or on the right hand, kind of having your regular speed tremolo, then gradually slowing it down, right? And you want to make sure that you hear that space between each one of those fingers as you do that slowing down. So you might get a... Right? So in the very end here, we have... which closes out before the next section. But anyways, I know this hasn't been like a full overview of the tremolo technique. I can save that for another video. There's lots of different things that you can do to improve your overall evenness and effectiveness with kind of creating that illusion of sustain. And there are plenty of excerpts and repertoire that you can explore. But I hope this little section from Jaime Zenamon's Reflexo number 6 will serve you well in practice. I'm going to include at the end of this video a excerpt from a recent performance right at the spot here that highlights the tremolo that you can check out, and I'll link to the full performance later. We did this at the America Society here in New York City with Jaime Zenamon in the audience, so it was a real treat and honor for me, and I think for everybody that was part of that concert. So I hope you enjoy it too, and thanks so much for your time. Stay tuned for more content, and I'll see you at the next one.